took a ride up to one pasture just to see how things are looking. Here it is, the end of January. I think it's like January 29th. I was up here and excuse me, just started pulling cow pies over. It's unreal that there's no frost in the ground, and there's actually that worm took off, but there's actually earthworms up in the cow pies. I mean, that's unreal being January. Here's the remnants of an old car that's on the farm. My dad years ago told me he thinks it was a 49 Ford. It's kind of just rotting in on top of itself. This past summer it was sitting over top of what I think was probably base to an old outhouse, I think. Like you see the block, the motor, the front end was sitting over top of this kind of rock lined hole in the ground. I'm thinking that at one time that was probably an outhouse, because over there is foundation to an old, let's see if I zoom in on it. I'll walk over. This is the foundation to what I understand was an old farmhouse from years ago. You can see it was, the way to go down into the basement was right here, and it's just an old fieldstone lined hole in the ground now. And there was a well over there that got filled in some, but I've pushed brush into it. And so at one time this was an old farmstead, and that was probably one of the last cars that was used here. And this is the old well, which was basically filled in. Looks like probably a groundhog was, well, something was living down there. That's the old fieldstone lined well. This past summer I went to pick this old car up with the skid loader with the forks, just to get out here, because I'd actually like to clean this old hedgerow stone wall up, just so it's one big open field, and this ain't kind of just in the middle of everything. This is just a bunch of pickers and everything growing it, and a bunch of burr. But when I picked it up, the engine block actually, everything was so rotted it just fell out from underneath of it, and the car just started to fall apart. So I set it back down, and I don't know what to do with it now. I was going to take it to a neighbor who collects scrap, but I think I'd be leaving pieces all along the road if I was to carry it with the forks. But yeah, my dad says it was a 49 Ford. Chrome's still good on it. Look at that. It's about the only thing that didn't turn to rust. Everything else is shot. Here's the rear down in there. That's what's left of the motor. Interesting. The VIN's still on it. I don't see, I'd imagine back then they put VIN tags up here by the windshield, but I don't see anything. Not much left of the seat. Does it show how many miles on? I can't really. Let me see. Now I have my glasses on. This looks like something, maybe 69,000. Can't tell, maybe I'll be able to see on a bigger screen. All right, continue on my little evening journey around the farm. Here's the last of the, well, 3 of the 5 dry bales I have left, so it's getting down to the end. Definitely gonna end up having to buy some more dry hay. I have wrap bales. I probably have, oh, I don't know, 30 or 40 wrap bales. I'll buy some dry hay off of the neighbor. This is really filled up because the ground's so saturated. There's a spring here that a long time ago they kind of developed it. Looks like they filled most of it in with fieldstone in there, but there's an old galvanized pipe that comes in on the side of this thing. It used to run up to the barn. The reason why I know it runs down here is because I put in the water, that Ritchie water up there, that yellow block that you can see. I actually hit the pipe that runs down here for this. But when we first moved in here, there was an old pump in the barn, and that's where they would pump the water out of this for the dairy cows. You can see it's actually quite the spring that runs here. It's down near the pole barn that we just had built. Still have to get the sliding doors put on the front of this, but probably wait till the weather warms up, and then it's got to get the concrete pad poured. But you can see with the riffles here, I don't know if you can make that out, but there's quite a bit of water that's runs out of the bottom of this and runs down into the wooded swamp. You can see the water running. Years ago, I used to water our cows right out of it. They would just come up and drink out of it. It never freezes. Sometimes you might get some ice around the edges, but the cows could always drink out of it. There's usually a couple frogs living in it. But I guess this time of year, they're probably in the mud somewhere or wherever they hide. Seems quiet. Go down and check the muskrat house, see if they're out swimming around. Last week we had some warmer sunny days, and there's 3 or 4 muskrats out here that I could drive right up to them and watch them. I haven't seen them the past few days, but yesterday I came up to check on them, and it looked like maybe a mink or something tore the top of the muskrat house out to get themselves a muskrat dinner. Yeah, a lot of times they'd be sitting on the ice underneath the bushes here, because the bushes give them cover from like the hawks. So I don't know if there's any survivors. I imagine something had to survive, but you see, this is their house, and something had tore into it. I know I see mink tracks down here a lot, and I've actually even seen the mink swimming along the edges, checking every nook and cranny. There's another muskrat house over on that embankment, but I don't think that one's been active for a while. But they were definitely over here. You can see the cuttings and everything at the entrance. But sometimes if I would come up and you push on it, you see them swim out. You see the wake from them. And I don't see anything coming out. They're not in here. They have some bank dens on the other side. We'll go look to see if the entrances are muddy. But you see the other house is right over there. A little snow on top of it. It was over there. You can see one of the springs that feeds the pond. Comes out of this embankment. It's just like a seep. But you can see the muskrats have a bank den in under there. And the water still looks kind of cloudy in front of it. So I would say that there are probably some survivors left in here. And you can see like that the water's all open. But that might be from this spring running in here that actually keeps some of the ice off of this side. You can see all the vegetation clippings that's floating on the water from the muskrats pulling up roots and everything. See, they've been feeding in there. Alright, jump back in the buggy. You guys will get dinner shortly. It's coming. Give me a few minutes. Everybody looks at me wanting to know where their grub is. I'll be up shortly. There's a deer right there. I don't know if you can make it out with the camera or not. There's one there feeding right now. It's getting later in the day, so they're going to start coming out into the hay fields. Well, I am going to get the feeders their evening grain, and then I am going to go in and get myself my evening grain because I am hungry. So I hope everybody has a good night, and hopefully get a video out in the next few days. Take care.